good evening. Let's just check my... Yep, good, my microphone is working there. It is on a different cable from usual, on the grounds that I have lost one of my USB hubs, which I was using on Tuesday night for the RC 2014, and it is evaporated at some point in the last 2 hours. Anyway, we'll make do, hello everybody, who do we have in? We have Majenko, we have Swarm, we have Chloe, we have Jeepin, we have RHK77. Thank you for the sub there for a third month, RHK, most appreciated. It's only a little one. It's a little annoying one, actually. I bought it because it was advertised as having gigabit Ethernet on it.
RHK77 cheered with 300 bits.
And thank you very much for the 300 bits, RHK. Yeah, it was advertised as having a gigabit Ethernet port on it, and it turned up. I plugged it in to test a cable run that I stuck in the wall from that corner down there in the kitchen up to the study when I had fibre broadband fitted, or FTTP anyway. So I plugged it in, and I only got 90 meg over the line. I thought, well, this is bloody odd. Turns out it was actually a 10100 Ethernet port. It was just being sold as a gigabit one, so that was brilliant. I was too lazy to get my £5 back from Amazon or whatever it cost me, so meh. But it turns out to be useful for the RC 2014 stuff, because I can put the extra serial port and the power cable and such like on it, which is why it is mysterious that I can find all the cables that are supposed to be plugged into it, but not the hub itself. Anyway, still at work, RHK. That's no good for a Friday. I'll catch you later. So, what we're up to today is revisiting System 1. The stream a couple of weeks ago. The intention was to update the 4th with a few bits and pieces for quality of life improvements, that sort of thing. Fair enough, Chloe. Yes, indeed. It's PON on this one anyway. So how's that done? Is that time division multiplex, or is that it's not FDM, is it? That would be stupid. No. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we were going to make some quality of life improvements to the 4th last time we looked at System 1, and we tried writing those in assembler in the 4th interpreter, and we uploaded that to the system after a lot of faffing around, and it crashed horribly. Spewing all sorts of garbage to the screen after a parse error, and we worked out that it was failing to parse the first definition in the workspace, the first definition that it builds from actual 4th code during boot is the mod, I think it was, command. It was either mod or div, and it's just a simple routine that calls div mod and throws away one of the two values it returns, and it was throwing a parse error and failing, and I couldn't see why that would be the case. And after the stream I tried... Excuse me a minute. Sorry, I don't like it when my phone buzzes several times in quick succession. It usually means something has gone horribly wrong, and I don't see any reason for it to be doing so it can shut up. There's the shut up button. Indeed, Chloe. I did some investigations after the stream, and what was happening was that I rebuilt the unaltered code with the assembler, and that didn't work either. Same problem. So I knew it wasn't the changes I'd made that were the problem, but I had no idea what it was. After some digging, I discovered that they're actually I did a binary diff between... good evening, Token Scandy. Good to see you. Glad you could make it this week. So yeah, I did a binary diff, and there were plenty of changes between the two, and most of those went away once I reverted to a clean git checkout, because it was getting thrown by the version number getting longer with the words plus changes being added to the git hash. So anyway, fixed that, and there were still a few changes. And they were things like the address of the input buffer in memory, primarily, which is very strange. So I looked at that, and I couldn't work out why what I was seeing in the machine code bore no relation at all to what was written in the assembler. So I did some fiddling, and it turns out that what it was doing was, I'll show you the code if I can check. Do I have code? There we go. Turn that on. Obscure my face. Excellent. And then what we had was various equates. So .equ. So these parameters are defined as equates in the code. So that should always be a constant 1024 for the buffer size, for instance, and the return stack size, parameter size, obviously. Similarly, Jones fourth version there, and then further down we have a few flags defined. And what was happening was the assembler was adding an offset to all of these. It was treating them as if they were symbols defined within a code segment. And so when it locates the code segment at the end of the process, it's not a linker, it's just a locator. Once it assigns the segment to a particular location, it adds that offset. It was adding the offset to these, as it would do to any other symbol. Which wasn't a huge problem for these, it just meant you had a massive buffer size, massive stacks and such like. But it was a huge problem for these flags down here. Because these are two flags that are stored in the top nibble of the namelen field in the layout of a fourth word of a definition. It contains the length of the name for the parser to use, and it contains immediate and hidden, which are flags that affect whether you can call it or use it in a piece of compiled code or not. And these are all getting turned into complete nonsense, and then they were getting masked down to 8 bits, so these were effectively completely scrambled. So when the parser went to look up a word in the dictionary, it was masking off the length of the word, of the name. This 1F had become complete garbage, so nothing was matching. It couldn't find a single word in the dictionary. So I fixed the assembler to ignore those and wondered how on earth it ever worked. But that fixed it and forth booted. And it wasn't until the next day that I fired up my old laptop and had a look where I'd done all this work originally, and found exactly the same line of code. Let's see if I can find it. So add folder to workspace, there we go. Git system1 tools. Yes, I do trust myself, go away. And it was... That's Jones fourth, not me. Interesting. Why is that not picking up my... Oh, come on. This is stupid. There should be a source control. Yes. There should be a Git history for that. System1 tools. Have I not... Oh, there it is. Don't fix up equates when assigning segment base addresses. So what was... That's completely disjointed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I found the same line of code on the old laptop, marked U 5 years ago, uncommitted changes. RHK. The answer to that is it's an absolute fucking nightmare, and I hated doing it. I persevered regardless. Do I have that checked out on this machine? Add folder to workspace. In fact, yes, I probably do. What you have to do is write an entire nonsense parser and plug-in for the thing. So it's a complete extension. Let's have a look. Huh. I thought there was more code to it than this. But yeah, I followed the guide for how to write an extension, and it was, no, awful. I would far prefer, or I'll write one for Sublime Text, which will be a lot easier. What you need to do to get proper syntax stuff is use a language server. Write a complete language server that can parse the entire thing, and that gives you things like references and such like, which this syntax highlighting doesn't. But anyway, to get back to this nonsense, what had happened was I'd made the same fix 5 years ago when I wrote the fourth originally, and just never committed it to the Git repo. So when I checked it all out on this machine, it was gone. So anyway, it was a one-line fix to the. There is not RHK, no. One-line fix to the assembler, and in theory now we can build the fourth. So what we want to do is first work out why this is not picking up my Git history. Fourth .as. Select for compare. 7 pending changes, but where? Repositories. Aha! There we go. So what changes do we have? We have a load of nonsense. What I think I'm going to do is stash all the changes we made last time, because I've been fiddling with it. And then we'll start over. Do I need to actually open a file from the... No, shouldn't do. It was just looking at the wrong repo. I was looking at Jones Fourth, which is a submodule. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yes. Why is DS Store not in gitignore? This is weird. Anyway, so we've reverted our changes, and what we're going to do is just make sure we can build. No errors in two source files. Good. Why is that doing data dumper stuff? We'll. Let's get rid of that as well. We don't need that. Right. So no errors in two source files, that's good. So what we can do now is bring up the terminal. Let's make that a bit darker. No filters. I thought it was supposed to be cooler. Well, it is obviously cooler today, but it's not as cool as I would have liked. I am obviously discombobulated. Let's switch that to display. Do that, and the edges are cut off for some reason. And if I do that, then it's upside down. Right. Transform. That didn't work. Transform roots. Right, that's more like it. So what I want to do is quickly switch to printer and make sure this is all set up properly still. Speed 9600, printer to host is on, normal print mode is good, X off, no X off, 8 and 1. Good, so oh, that's a new one. I don't think AutoMod liked me allowing that one. It said thank you for your feedback when I clicked the button. But anyway, let's get System 1 up and running. This is going well. Here we go. Helps if you turn the power on at the wall. So, boot ROM, deposit, start. Why no output? Because I haven't plugged the serial port in. And we'll try that again. Start. Hooray! Any other key to start the serial bootloader. So, any other key. And then what we need to do is bring up CoolTerm. If I can find it. Like so. And then we can, in theory, say send text file. Command Shift G, go to Gits, and it is in 4th. Barebones.bin. Okay, so right, that is sending data, which you can't see the progress bar because macOS. Okay, that's sent, so what else we got? Yes, Sleepy, you did just get auto-modded for calling someone a redneck, so we'll allow that one. And hello, by the way. And hello, Cobb. Oh, I see what you mean, Chloe. Yes, you're right. Yes, indeed. So let's see if that worked. We should be able to now press stop, reset the program counter to 0, and press start. And no, it has not worked. Why has it not worked? It has not worked because I need to do something. What do I need to do? Let's set a directory transmit. It is currently sitting in the delay loop waiting for the terminal to be ready to receive data. X off, 8-bit, no, 1 stop, no local. Printer ready. I stumbled across this the other day and it caused exactly the same level of confusion. What have I done wrong? Maybe what I need to do is reset. Do that, then stop it. And jump straight to... No, exactly the same. So if I press F, do we boot into 4th? We do. Folks, are we having fun really giving the auto mod connections over there? Let me just catch up on chat so I can understand the context for all this auto mod for reasons of bullying that is showing up in my chat here. Oh, I see, you're trying to work out which languages it recognises your escapades in and which it doesn't. Right, fair enough. But I won't let them all through because I don't know them well enough to know that it's acceptable or not. Good evening, Majenko. You join me being very confused that I cannot send it an updated 4th at the moment, so I'm going to have some coffee and think about it for a moment. Oh, saying stuff in chat is always acceptable, Chloe. Especially if it starts with the letter CHEER and then a 2-digit or a 3-digit number. That's even better. Oh, I see. Right, sorry, Majenko. My brain is not firing at full capacity today, as you can probably tell. It is indeed my default state, Cobb, yes. Let me just have a quick look at what the XX... no, hang on, do I have a reference for the bin? I do. So what we can do is... what we can do is div-u from bracket xxd reference 4th from bracket xxd 4th barebones.bin through pbcopy. Ooh, lots of differences. That's not good. No, not lots of differences. I'm getting confused by the syntax highlighting. So where are differences there? There's a C there that wasn't there in the original. And there's a big chunk here. It's 220. In fact, that's the entire thing, isn't it? So I know what's happened here. It's got thrown out by plus changes. Right, okay, we can fix that. Where's the make file? There's the make file by changing that to that. That's more like it. So now the only changes are the date. So it should work. I don't know, Ramdog, actually. I haven't looked. I'm just having a quick look at the chat. Hang on, there was a... Oh, I see, right. Yeah, sorry, Cobb, I am more confused than usual. It's I don't know. I have not had a very good day. Remdog, yeah. What I've done is, if we look at the terminal, all I've done is take down there, take a hex dump of a reference binary and the freshly built binary, diffed them, stuck them in the clipboard, and pasted them into a document. So yeah, so the only change there is to the date in the sign-on message, so that should work. So what we'll do is we shall go back to here. We shall restart the machine. Right, the reason I say is that I don't know if you can tell. That light shouldn't be on. That's the address it's currently reading into in memory, and that's 2, and it should be 0. So if we press stop and put a 0 in there and restart, you can see, because I forgot to make the change to the scene active, never mind. And we'll come back here and we shall call to send file forth. One of my projects for the weekend is going to be upgrading to a current version of macOS, for the simple reason that it'll let that screen capture include the progress bar. So fingers crossed and wish me luck, folks. Stop, address 0, deposit, go. No, same thing. What's it waiting for? Okay, we'll stop it. And we'll do the debugging the hard way. So that is at address 24. So address 24, there should be a symbol file here, there we go. is somewhere in IO init. So that starts at 1.8. So that's 1.8, 1C, 2.0, to what? One 8, 1C, 2.0, 2 what? We should not be. How have we got stuck there? Step. So that's 2.8, 2C. And then we've got jumped from there to 4. Vector for trap instruction. Okay, let me. Yeah, it's definitely time for a drink, I think. That'd be one hell of a vector swarm, yes. Right, so let's try reset. Start the boot ROM, which should correctly size the memory. It has 2048. So the registers that contain the memory size should now be set. So if we stop and manually jump to 0, we won't do the jump, we'll step through it. So we are now pointing at instruction, this boot vector, jump to IO init. So if we step, we've gone to leave. Memory address 0, read. So let's find out about that question about built-in hex editing. Open with. No. So we want to say od-tx4 through pb copy. Okay, so that first word in memory is complete garbage. It should be 88000014. Now we've got 07481 A, no, 1B, 1, 4. Second, third, 4th should be 0. So memory contains complete garbage. Was there a 1B in there? Hang on. Memory address 0, read. There's a B, there's a 1. One B, 1 4. DC4. I think 1 4, 1 B, 4 1. Capital A. 07 Bell. I think the terminal has sent it some control codes because I was feeding the data to it through the printer port. So speed, printer to host, no printer to host, okay, that's fine. Normal print mode, auto controller, that's fine. X on, X off, that won't make any difference. 8N1 is fine. Print full page, that's only if I press the print key on the keyboard. Print national only, national line drawing, print naughty national. Yeah, I think it has decided to be a Wally and annoy me that way. So what we are going to do is find my box of cereal bits and bobs. 1 second. I need to find a straight through DB25 cable. There's one here somewhere. Where is it? Right, there we go. So now what we can do is we can get rid of CoolTerm from that view. We can replace the printer connection to the terminal with a null modem adapter and a DB9 to 25, and you can't quite see it because the cable doesn't quite reach, but I assure you that's what I've done there. That is going to the terminal, and that is going to the computer. So if we put that in there, we've taken the terminal out of the circuit. Yes, I'm doing my best Shelby impression. He is. His attitude is always, if it's not working, chuck another dongle in the circuit. And usually, I prefer to have the right combination of cables. I just don't have a 9 to 25, so I've got an adapter and then. Bleh. Anyway, so what we're going to do is bring up CoolTerm again. Clear data. Stop. Boot ROM. Start. Press any key to start the serial bootloader. Yes. Check we are at address 0. We are. Connections. Send text binary file. Forth.bin. Oh, Swarm, thank you for pointing that out. The random stuff happening in the stream capture menus, that's because the bundle of cables under the table was pressing on the buttons on the IGB to HDMI. I'll sort that out in a bit. So, let's now stop. And we'll try reviewing that memory again. So, deposit 0, read. There we go. Now we have 88000014. So program counter 0, start. Right. So while that boots, and we are finally back to where we wanted to start, after 46 whole minutes, I shall just go and sort out the IGB to HDMI. One moment. Stop knocking the camera, you pillock. Right, that booted, that is good. So what we can do is we can demonstrate the problem we are trying to solve. Just as a recap, what went wrong, Remdog, is that the VT240 has a printer port on the back, which is a serial port, and it can be configured to allow the printer and the host to communicate directly. So any bytes that the printer sends to the terminal get sent on to the host. So I was using that to try and send the fourth binary to the computer without having to fiddle around with connections between the terminals, so that you can see it and I can send the file. But I think it was actually sending escape sequences and such like as part of that data stream for reasons best known to itself. I would have to break out a serial trace to work out what on earth it was doing. I might do that later, find out what sequences it was sending. But yeah, so I've just taken it out of circuit and we're just sending the stuff straight to it without the terminal in the way, and that appears to be working. So what we want to solve is the problem where if you type a word that the fourth doesn't know about, if you type that on the right keyboard, it'll say parse error after farts, which is fair enough. But if you had that in the middle of a long definition, so let's say you wanted something that added together two numbers and then printed them, and instead of dot I typed farts by accident and then the dot to print it. It then gets confused, and in fact it's got very confused there because it hasn't told us where the error was. But if we now typed C test, that shouldn't have worked. Okay, it does just skip the word it doesn't understand, but if that word was actually important, you would completely screw the logic of the program, and you have to restart from the beginning, or you've got no idea what it's actually picked up and what it hasn't, so you just have to retype the whole lot. Yeah, Cobb, it is a common mistake. The keys are like right next to each other. So what we would like is for that parse error to actually show us the word that it's ignored and confirm which bits are not being ignored. And if you did that in a longer... let's see if there's a better example. Test 2, 10, begin, queued up, whale, dup, dot, -1, repeat. So yeah, now the interpreter is in a right mess, because the way the words, the while and repeat and such like work, is that it's... you can see now it has gone completely haywire. That's the program counter. It's trundling off through empty memory doing absolutely nothing. And the reason it's done that is because the stacks have got into a complete mess because something has popped and it was never pushed in the first place. Yes, Togosandy, it's showing the caret under the error the change that wants to make when the SCSI assembler was broken. So yeah, that's where we wanted to start off last week. And we didn't actually get that far. So let's give that a go quickly. Why on earth was Fondles auto-modded? So we shall... We shall click on the right screen. There we go. Remdog. Well, it's originally it's Jonesforth, which is a very nice literate programming example written for Linux on an i386. I've adapted it to System 1. So I basically just transcoded all the assembler stuff into System 1 assembler instead of x86. So let's get rid of that. Don't save that. Let's get rid of that. We don't care about that. We can revert that change to the makefile. And we shall... I'm just wondering whether I should just pop the stash. No, because I made additional changes to it. Let's start length. So we'll use that as a reference for what we're doing. No, I don't want the binary, I want the fourth.asm, that's it. And our first change is make that a CRLF pair so that it doesn't confuse the terminal. Let's just say just rescue the code from last time and check it still makes sense. So R5, we need to calculate R5. Actually, I'll tell you what, I am going to take the easy option and just git stash pop. I will read the code and make sure it still makes sense. So where are we? Parse error. Error codes for Kirky, that's fine. Parse word length, have we actually loaded that from anywhere? So remember the start and the length of the word, that's fine. Starter context string in R0. Error code just for the Kirky position, that's fine. Starter buffer. Length to underline is in R6. What's R5 there? R5 is the length plus 1. Y. R1 is the length of the buffer before the error. That's peculiar, there should be a loop there. Ah, no, I see what's happening. Right, print. Let's double check. IO print bytes is, what's its calling convention? Or its parameters rather. IO print bytes. Length in R1. And we don't touch R5, that's good. Right, fine. So we print the context, we print the character return, we print the line feed, then we print R5 times space, then R6 times caret. R6 is the length of the word, and then a CR and an LF. Okay, so we'll give that a go. It looks plausible. So if we restart. Not that one, that one. Bootloader, send file, vault to bin. Okay, and then stop. Right, okay, so it is compiling, that is good, we have not completely broken it. And while it gets on with that, I shall catch up on chat. What are you yammering on about there? That's weird. Why does... I like the way that window jumps every time I tab away from it. Okay, so we can now try let's see what words we have defined. I'm just looking for something we can usefully test with. So 1 hello swap. Well, that's a good start. That seems to be what we wanted. Let's just check it works. 1 12 hello plus .cr. Okay, nice. It didn't understand hello, so it moaned about it. What would be nice would be if it discarded the rest of the line. In case that hello was actually important, it would be better if it didn't go on to do the plus and the dot and the CR. It would be better if it just gave up at that point. So let's switch back to Visual Studio. Let's get rid of that. So we're happy with that. We shall commit it. There's only one error message in the code, so that'll do. I'll go back and make that a better commit message later. Error message end db10. Oh, I see, that goes with that one. Discarded 13. Ooh, hang on. Parse error after bunch of spaces. Why is there a bunch of spaces there and then a? That's weird. Parse error after 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces and then a carriage return. Just delete that and see what happens. Oh, I'm editing in the and I want to copy this. That's fine, and then we want to actually implement that discard the rest of the line, and the way to do that will be to find interpret. Where's the word routine? In which case, there we go, word. No, it's underscore key, obviously not word for a byte, and key says Kirky buff top. Junk if carry or 0, so what we need to do is set buff Kirky equal to buff top. So mov r0, no, load r0 buff top store r0 Kirky, and that should do it. So let's give it a go. No errors, excellent. That's what we like. Bring up that one again. Okay, and stop. Oops, random to 0, start. What I should do is implement a hex file receiver in the boot ROM instead of just a random raw data bootloader. If it received hex files, it could validate it, make sure it's not storing random garbage generated by the terminal, and then it could end with a execution address record, so that it will actually auto start once the download is finished. But anyway, we now have that, so we can try the same thing again. 12 hello plus .cr, and it should just complain about the hello and not print the 3. There we go. That should make life an awful lot easier for development. So we'll commit that change. Cancel, stage the change. Does it work in a definition 2? It should do, because it all goes through the same routine, the way the fourth interpreter works, but we can test that. Test 12 hello plus .cr. And we're probably still in definition actually, so if I did that and C test, yeah. It would probably be nice if it either printed a prompt to tell you whether you were in a definition, if you're in compile mode or immediate mode. Let me think about that. Remainder of input line discarded. How big a change is that? Finding out which mode you're in is fairly trivial. Yeah, let's do that, because that will stop me getting confused. Remainder of input line discarded. We'll take the easy option. And do it that way. And see if I can remember what the it'll be a def var, won't it, for state, I think is what we're looking for. So var underscore state. If var state is 1, then we are compiling. So discard message. No, actually it's going to be easier. Still in compile mode. db d. Yeah, that should be right. And then we need a compiling message end db. I only think for a better way for the assembler to do that, calculate the length of strings. But that should work. So discard message, compiling message is optional, and then full stop message. Yeah, that'll do. Clicked in the scroll bar like a muppet. There we go. And then we need here a load r0 var state. Jump if 0 1f. There we go. So that should do it. I hope I'm still live as not like chat to go silent for that long while I fiddle with the absolute nonsense. But anyway, reset. RHK, no, it can do the language is capable of. Sorry, the machine code is capable of both relative and absolute jumps. The assembler is capable of assembling both. It will choose whichever it thinks is best if you don't specify. If you use JMP or any of the jumps .o, it's relative, it uses an offset. And I think there's another one, or a... You can definitely override it to use one or the other. But it has anonymous labels, so these numbered ones, if the label is simply a number, then you can refer to it as a number and then F or B for forwards or backwards, which allows you to write.
Dead insects cheered with 100 bits. Nobody here but us trees.
That's good to know, Swarm. Thank you for the 100 bits, most appreciated. So you can write local loops very quickly using these without coming up with all sorts of nonsense interim labels. But anyway, that has been transmitted. Let's see if it worked. Stop. And where are you? Oh God, it's 7:15. Well, we'll see if we can get as far as writing the keyboard hook today, which is the plan.
Chloe Raccoon cheered with 100 bits. Trees? I'd better leave.
Yes, Chloe, if you're going to behave like that, you had better leave. But thank you for the 100 bits anyway, most appreciated. Come on, there we go. It's fun the way I can tell when it's almost done, because the pattern of the LEDs in the front panel changes very slightly. Microcode? RHK, there is no microcode, it's entirely hardwired. So, let's check whether that worked. 1, 2, hello, plus.cr. Remainder of input line discard. Okay, we've got a minor bug. Test 1, 2, hello, plus.cr. Still in compile mod. Interesting. I must have an off by 1 error somewhere in my length calculations. Yes, remainder of word discarder indeed, yes. Let's see. I mean, this now looks like it should become a macro, but we'll worry about that another time. And there was another one further up here. There we go. I'd hope if I did that first. There we go. Send text file and bare bones. Yeah, that would be easier, wouldn't it, Tiger Scandi? The problem is, if there is no next item, then, or it's at the end of a segment, then stuff goes horribly, horribly wrong. Does it? What happens if it's the last thing in the file? Yeah, I'll probably just move that around actually, and we'll do it that way. It depends. The assembler, once it goes back to fix up the I mean, you're right, it should work. Whether it does work depends on whether I've been stupid or not. And as you can tell from how this is going, we cannot guarantee that I have not been an absolute muppet. Equals wasn't the right answer there, but whatever, it'll do. CR doink. Okay, that's good. That's looking a lot better anyway. So let's reset. I am going to get confused link for Visual Studio in my dock. There we go. Mars error. Oh yeah, sod it. Let's just try it. No, that's not typing in the terminal. Oh, we can do that. Is this dot align? Well, for the dot align means it might end up moving that label by up to 3 bytes for alignment purposes, so we'll put a DB0 there just to be on the safe side. So that should be good. Do we test it? Yes, we test it. Rather, before I commit it, it'll take 2 minutes, if that. Connections, send test binary file. There we go. So, stop. But sorry, RHK, when you said introduction to the microcode, hang on, let me just scroll back, find it. Yeah, I do need to write up the instruction set, which you might be interested in. It's not very good. There are obvious places I could have improved it if I'd thought a bit harder about how it was going to be used, but when I built the machine originally, I had a £250 voucher from Farnell to spend, and I had a rapidly approaching deadline for spending it. So I drew up all the instruction decoding logic in a very, very hurried couple of evenings to see if I could get a rough number on what sort of gates I needed. 1, 2, 3. Hello plus dot. That's working. Okay, that's all looking good. So yeah, I was in a rush to get the order in, so I didn't think through the instruction set quite as well as I could have done. But that's fine. So what we'll do is commit those changes, make sure it all looks sensible. Oh, I've done balls. I have committed what I consider a cardinal sin and made 2 changes in one commit. So what I'm going to do is git stash push No, I'm not, because they're completely separate from the other changes we need to make, so that's fine. I shall just remember to go and tidy those up before next time, or before I commit them. So what are we going to do? We need to can also git add I. Yes, the yeah, you're right. I can commit the one change first, and then yeah, right, fine. So we're not committing that. We are committing stage that. Oh, stop it. Stage that. And stage that. So what have we done there? We've moved the 10 up there. And we need to stage, hang on. So that 13 was a typo anyway. Okay, that's good. Fix off by 1 error in message length. And then we got that's the state check. Compile message. Yeah. Indicate whether add indication of discover message. There we go. Right. No, what's going on there? commit. Why does it think they're unsafe changes? Stop it. Dead still in compile right. Yeah, right, fine. There we go. Yeah, VS Code's Git integration isn't lovely. I'm not a huge fan of some of the things it does, but it does at least let you stage individual lines, which is fine. It's just a question of it deals with deleted lines weirdly. You can't stage the deletion. You have to stage the replaced line instead. Right, RHK, interested in how you decode the instruction. It is a... I wonder if I have the... PDF of the instruction decoder on hand. That took a while. What are we looking for? LS startup PDF. Clocks control. Inst decode. There we go. System 1 inst star.pdf dot let me just see if I can share that PDF. It's implemented as discrete logic. So an increment is an ALU op, so that should assert ALU op valid here, which asserts register A out, so drives the A bus with register A. Should drive register B bus somewhere. ALU operation output to R. B. So it will trigger loading the registers, loading the flags off that, and where is... There should be reg B to B somewhere. Op I to A, no. A to B. PC to B. It's around here somewhere anyway. ALU op valid, that, and... Weird, I don't see where that's happening, but it does happen there somewhere. I'll upload all these PDFs somewhere. Oh, that's a neat trick. I didn't expect that to do that. Anyway. Yeah, no, just to touch on the comments there about a Git interactive and such like. Yes, the reason I hadn't done that right away is that I thought I'd made too many changes. One of the changes depended on the other, so as we saw, we had to edit one of the lines so that it wasn't so that we could add the anyway, you saw I had to do it in had to change one of the lines rather than just saying that chunk, that chunk, that chunk. Anyway, what we're going to do, we have half an hour left, which might be enough time to work on the keyboard hook, and then we're going to hand over to Majenko because Shelby is taking the day off for reasons. Well, I believe he's busy working on his latest video. About the mysterious object. But yes, he's not in the office today because of July 4th. So, we want to go here, and what we want to do is add a hook. So if we look at the keyboard driver notes from last time, there's the or all the code we wrote last time. And what we want to do is have the fourth interpreter call into this handle event routine. Where are we? Handle event. Oh, not quite actually. We'll have to change this code slightly, but what we want it to do is look to see if every time it tries to read from the serial port, also call a bit of fourth to see if it can read from the keyboard instead. So to do that, we need to set up an execution environment for the fourth to run in, because we are taking control of it from inside machine code. And we can see where that's done at startup time. Cold. So there are two places we currently do that. One is during boot, and the other is when you press the reset button on the front panel, or the interrupt button on the front panel, to break out of a loop that has gone haywire. And what we do is we just have to set up the stacks, which should already be set up. We set up an execution pointer in register E, and then we call this routine next, which is just a macro that expands to the core of the fourth interpreter. It fetches each code word, or it fetches the next code word from the execution pointer and jumps to it, basically. So that should be all we need to do, but we need to also get back from that fourth code once it finishes executing. We need to get back to the context of the machine code that was running it. So let's have a go at drafting something like that. Keyboard hook. Let's just call it KB hook to save on typing. And it's going to be just a couple of lines of fourth. So var KB hook as well. DW0, because there'll be a placeholder at first to say there's nothing there, and then DW exit hook. So we'll need to define an exit hook routine. And we need to define that var. So let's just remember my syntax for doing a def var. Must be last predefined word, and then I've got two more afterwards. That's interesting. Oh no, name memtop must be the last one. That's fine then. So let's add it here. Def var KB hook. That's the length of the name, isn't it? Yes, 6. And there are no flags. And the label is KB hook. No, hang on, that's not going to work because it wants to... That's going to No, that won't work because the macro is going to define var underscore kb hook. So okay, we'll expand that macro by hand. Def code kb hook 6 no flags var what's the backslash label there for? Oh, I see. kb hook mov r0 var kb hook push dsp r0 next. That's fine. Let me segment fourth data and an align. Okay. Fourth data dot align, and that's in fourth RO data. So let's move that up above that. So I just need to see where the best place is. It will just whack it at the bottom of the file. Always a good place. Not quite at the bottom because those are special. So def code, so let's just check that makes sense. So that'll define a routine that just returns the address of the kb hook variable, which is there, which is embedded in our code. Okay. And then we need to define an exit hook. Def code exit hook 8 f hidden because we don't want any other code calling it. And that's not going to call next because what that's going to do is we need to store we just need to pop RSP, which is our return stack, pop that into R0 and then jump to it. That should be fine. And then we need to define a call keyboard hook routine. And what that's going to do is save our current execution pointer just in case. No. Put the address of our keyboard hook routine into it and call it using next. Mov R0 think that's going to work. So what that's going to do, if we call KB hook, we save our execution pointer just in case we do need to. I think we probably do. Then we're going to save the address of this subroutine, or the rest of the routine, to come back to. Then we're going to jump into the KB hook routine here. When that gets to exit hook, that'll pop that address there and transfer control to here. So that's great. So now what we need to do is pop RSP, get our old execution pointer back, pop a word off the data stack, which will be our return value, R0, and then we need to jump back to wherever we came from, which is going to be in RF. So let's save RF as well, which is our standard link register for subroutine calls. Yeah, that's right. Pop DSP 0. Okay, and we also want to do this first, because if that happens to be 0, no, that's not right. We want to load the var KB hook value, that one there, and if it's 0, then early out. And because it's 0, 0 is going to mean there's no event waiting anyway, so that's all good. So R0 is our return. Core keyboard driver in fourth returns ASCII value or 0 for no key waiting. So let's just double check these are in the right. That's the data stack, that's fine. Return stack, EF. That should do it, actually. Always need a nice refreshing drink, Matt, and hello, good to see you. I think Token Scandi was talking about what he was starting on. It is his virtual pub night, as you are well aware. I have some in the fridge waiting. I have some cider in the fridge waiting, as I believe so does Majenko for his stream in about quarter of an hour. But all we need to do is, I think now, attempt to call KB hook. From our key routine. No, because we're reading it line at a time, so we need to adjust the I/O layer. I/O read line. So what registers are we using here? 2, 3, 4. Got a byte yet, spin until we do. So actually that wants to be returned in R5. Isn't ideal. Well, that's fine. We can work with that. Jump with link. Jump with link. RF. Call KB hook. Jump if not 0 to F. So we actually want to use R5 for our return value. Let's do that so that we're not trashing too many registers. I'm just trying to think what other registers are going to get trashed by that call, and I think the answer is a lot of them, so we might need to rejig some of that code. Yeah, we might need to move save original buffer size in R7. I'm just trying to avoid pushing all the registers before we call into the fourth. But I don't think we can. Let's give it a go, see if it builds first. No errors. We'll send the code down and maybe it'll even work. It probably won't, but reset, deposit, start. So the first test will be whether we've completely broken reading anything. And I suppose we'll find out soon enough. This isn't a valid test because it's reading from a separate buffer, but as soon as it finishes compiling the initial workspace, it'll call into the reader line from the console code. And that will then attempt to call into the keyboard hook, which will be 0, so it shouldn't do anything. But we'll see whether it can read from the serial port anymore. And if it can't, then I'll have to go back and save more registers. Oh, we got an OK. No, okay. hex. Well, it's echoing back, it's just not considering it to be... Huh, weird. Now it's crashed. Well, never mind. That was sort of expected. So reset. Printers are never good, Matt. Best avoided. So jump with an RF call KB hook. I mean, that much was working, I think, so let's just quickly check how those are defined. Push RSP. That uses R0 and the push macro... No, hang on. So RC, RD, those are considered scratch. So the register layout is R0 to 7. The caller should save them if they're important. So yes, I need to go back and fiddle with some of that. .03F. Oh, we need to save IO read line. We do need to save our return address. think, what did that say? R9 was an alternative for alternate link register. Yeah. Where is the... That should be fine. So we need to recalculate R2, 3, 4 and 5, I think. No, 5 gets trashed, that's fine. Or do we lower DTR and exit? Okay. So we need to recalculate R2, 3 and 4 on each pass through the loop, because the fourth code might trash that, so that's easy enough to do. And what else is being 2, 3, 4, 5 is scratch. Buffer is R0. Buffer space is R1. So we need to save those somewhere. And we don't have access to the fourth stack from here. That's annoying. So we can store our Lort IO read line buff pointer, store R1 IO read line buffer space, and then get them back. We can get them back here, can't we? Yep. Buffer space. So that might be sufficient state. See what happens. The Oracle Majenko bot is a frankly quite scary concept there. Might explain a few things though. So let's see what happens if we run this. Probably nothing good. No Majenko stream. Aye, yikes, that's not good. No, it's not recognizing. It's not crashing. Let's see what happens if... Does the backspace code still work? Yes. Chloe, what exactly does one brain cell cost from Oracle these days? Okay, so we'll carry on for a few minutes while Majenko tries to fix his stream, and I shall attempt to work out what on earth I'm doing wrong. So on each iteration through this loop we say, have I 2, 3, 4, 5? No. So adding the label 2 there won't have broken anything. Oh, you know what would help? If I wasn't an absolute muppet. There's no point recalculating those before we call the keyboard hook, because the keyboard hook is what's going to overwrite them. So we need to call those here. We need R3 and R2 at least, so that's fine. Got a byte yet until we do, so that's all good. And then we also need to call them here so that they're taken on the 3, 4, 5. So we need to do that there. Okay, that should do it. So on each iteration we don't care about those two there. So we remember where we are in the buffer and how much space we have left. We call the keyboard hook. If that returns something, then we load up the registers we've trashed and carry on. Otherwise, did I copy and paste where I meant to? Just... oh, did I cut where I meant to copy? There we go. Otherwise we reload those registers, check the serial port and keep going. And yeah, that might be better. This is why having an actual compiler is nice, folks, but You're making me want cider. Stop it. The cider is in the fridge. I mean, I could get the cider. No, it's not. The cider's somewhere else. Ah, what's in the fridge? Inadvisably strong beer is in the fridge. I do not have a bottle of Sean's Devon cider, unfortunately, no. I just have some random cider from the supermarket that I was going to be using to make cider battered chicken for a salad yesterday, but in the end I got distracted and didn't, so I shall do it tomorrow instead. Good evening, Phil, how are you doing? So, good start, we can still type. And it still doesn't accept anything. Why? Oh, that sounds like fun, Phil. What else are Friday evenings for? Why is that? Is it I'll send the byte? Was it a line feed? Loop back if not. And return R9. So that should all still be good. Calculate bytes received and return. Let's do the obvious test and comment out. So R5 is where we're expecting to see the call KB hook. Pop the data stack into R5, yeah. No problem. So that should just dummy out the fourth code. And if that fixes it, then we know that the fourth code is overwriting a register that we're depending upon, and we just haven't figured out which register it is yet. And if it doesn't fix it, then we know I've made a fairly severe logical error somewhere in the changes I've made to the I/O layer. So it should get us a hint at least. Well, I'm not setting the hook RHK because I can't type anything, so we know it must have been called because it's in the hot path. We wouldn't get any echo if it wasn't getting that far. If it was crashing inside the hook, then we wouldn't echo anything back to the terminal. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's 50-50. It's either a severe thinko in what I'm doing there, or it's just I need to stash more registers somewhere. The problem is there is no stack for the I/O layer. The stack is entirely within the fourth interpreter, and I want to keep that modularization so I can replace the I/O layer with something more complicated later. Majenko stream fixed. Okay, well, give me a couple of minutes, Majenko, and I shall see how far we get on here. Words. No. Okay. Right. So what have we screwed up? Move RF, which is our return address, into R9. Does anything in here use R9? No. Does anything in here use R9? 14 things do, but we're not getting anywhere near that code yet, so save original buffer size in R7. We're not touching that either, so we are loading R2, 5, 6 is a scratch register. We're storing the pointer and the space in Norton 1. Zeroing R5, jump if not 0 to 5F, so we carry on. Load R2 from serial line 3, 4. Keep going around that loop, that's... there's a bug. Anything that touches R0 and R1, I mean nothing does there, but anything that did would screw up. So if we've got a byte, it'll be in R5 there. If we've got a byte here, it'll be in R5. I can simplify all of that. By saying of R5 jump not 0 to F. Did we get a byte from the hook? Right, that's cleaner. So we save the buffer status, call the hook, which in this case is just dummied out, then immediately get it back, then immediately recalculate the serial port addresses, because we're going to need those either way because we might have to echo something. Then if we got a byte from the hook we carry on, and if we get a byte from the serial port we carry on, otherwise we loop back. Right, that's cleaner. Let's give that a go. And if this doesn't work, we shall hand over to Majenko and I shall go and sulk. No, in fact, before I hand over to Majenko, I do want to check the keyboard hook logic. So undummy that out. But if you're okay for 5 minutes, Majenko, otherwise. Start. Oh right, okay. Auto mod doesn't trigger on that one, RHK. Bloody should. But you're right. I should sketch this out on paper. I had intended to, just as has become tradition. I was ill prepared when I hit the start button earlier. Words. No. Weird. Okay, if that hasn't helped, then let's do a git stash push io barebones.asm. Right. So that's undone all our changes. Nothing is now calling the keyboard hook at all. I think I prefer simple flowcharts to UML. There are some bits of UML that are quite nice. There are other bits that appear to be massively over-engineered and make little sense. But anyway. By the way, RHK, was it you who suggested I should look into one of those Epson document images? Because I found a couple that might be worth a punt on. About 40 quid. I shall have a think. But if you happen to know, how are they fixed height or are they adjustable to get an adjustable field of view, or do you have to rely on the digital zoom? Right, so can I type words there? I can. Right, it is definitely a mistake I have made in that code in the IO layer. I wonder what it is. Anyway, I think we might have to call it there for now. Yeah, variable height sounds interesting. I shall have to have a look at some spec sheets and see which makes sense. Anyway, yeah, I think we have reached an impasse here. I presume Majenko is actually streaming. Give me a second. He is, so I am going to hand you over to Majenko because I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. But at least we got the underlining of errors working. So thank you all for joining me. I'm not entirely sure what I'm up to next week. Next Tuesday I might be doing some of that work on an asset tracking system. I need to be able to print out labels and with barcodes on for stuff in the office. So we might look at that next week unless I come up with something better to do. But I'm sure I'll be around Tuesday evening from sort of 9:30 probably, and this time next week. So thank you all for joining me, and I shall catch you next time.